Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is February 4th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery at the state of California. Just our beast of a storm. You can't miss it off the coastline right now. Big winds ongoing across much of the central coast, down towards Santa Barbara, across the Bay Area. That's going to continue on in through the afternoon today and eventually move northward across some of the valley locations. The high terrain of California is really getting impacted here across the entire state over the next day or two from some of these winds as well. Atmospheric river associated all the way back towards the tropics. Big rainfall event unfolding across Southern California. A lot of damage out there. There's been some home damage. There's power lines down all over the place. There's rock slides and mud flows. So yeah, be careful if you have to go out and about. Hopefully you've been preparing for the storm for the last couple of days. Let's dive into some of those details here. As we go through the video this morning, you can see the Doppler radar overlay, and this is the Bay Area here, and just the intense, moderate, heavy rainfall at times continues across a lot of the area, and you can see the spin in the low pressure center right off the coastline there. Now looking at the high resolution rapid refresh, again, the state of California is here. There's the Bay Area, Southern California. You can see the low pressure center here, and these winds continuing as you go through the late morning into the early afternoon. Some areas will be slowing down, but you can kind of see the bent back occlusion approaching the Bay Area as we go through the afternoon and evening hours, and some of the strong winds moving up the valley areas here as well. So still some intense gusts to go, especially north of the Bay Area as we go through tonight. The low will be weakening, but it's kind of slow moving here, and it's not weakening that fast. You can clearly see some of the strong winds across much of the state, especially the higher terrain and some of the valley areas. Again, high wind warnings are in effect all over the place. And if you're across the Bay Area, check out and give Native Santa Cruz a follow there. He's talking about all the people with live wires down, trees are down. We got rock slides and mudslides out there. So heads up for that. There's some really good people to follow on social media, and he is one of them. Take a look here. This is down in Santa Barbara County. Look at some of the home damage here from the falling trees. Just intense stuff. I mean, imagine that hitting your house. Wild activity with the wind. Now looking at the NAM 3 cam, we looked at the HER, and I just want to show you some of these wind gusts across some of the coastal areas and some of the higher terrain, and you can see it moving up across Sacramento as we go towards the late morning and early afternoon hours. Some high wind gusts incoming, and look at Half Moon Bay gusting up towards 70 miles per hour. Some of the Bay Area proper even gusting up into the 60, 65 mile per hour range. Very intense gusts ongoing and still incoming. This is Northern California here. We're looking at a max, accumulated max 10 meter wind gusts. You'll see as we go through 8, 9, 10, 11, and noon here, you see you should be kicking up some of the winds across Sacramento, and winds creeping up the coastline at times here as well. And as we go through this evening and tonight, look at some of these wind gusts just rolling up the valley areas here, and including especially the higher terrain in Northern California. You get spared here across, Crescent City and Eureka for the most part, but still breezy at times. And then you can see even actually as you go into tomorrow, a little bit of an increase of wind across some of the coastal areas there. But look at the wind gust forecast here from the National Weather Service, Sacramento. I mean, you remember just a couple days ago, and I was mentioning the high resolution models coming into range, they only had like 30 to 35 for some of the valley areas here, and you can see how they've been increased. And again, if you're across the higher terrain of the Sierra Nevada and you're in an exposed area, you're absolutely getting just these huge wind gusts out there. And the same thing for some of the coastal areas in the Bay Area. There's actually a hurricane force wind gust warning across some of the coastal regions as well. We'll actually take a look at that in a minute. And I want to show you the peak wind gusts since midnight. You can see it's not really arrived here across a lot of Northern California here. However, if you go down towards the Bay Area, you see some of these big wind gusts just rolling in here now, and it's updating as we speak. So let's see. Yeah, look at some of these huge wind gusts and some of the higher terrain across the region here. I mean, you're gusted up over 70 miles per hour, and this is going to be increasing again here through this afternoon. Looks like that low pressure center is going to make a close pass, and you're going to get some very gusty winds, again, potentially going 60 miles per hour in some of the Bay Area. And if we go down the coastline, you can see Santa Barbara with those big winds and the tree damage, and some of the higher terrain gusting 70 plus as well. And extremely dangerous marine conditions. I don't know. If you're out in a boat today, hopefully you know what you're doing, because it's absolutely wild out there. It's a hurricane force wind warning here off of Big Sur up towards Monterey. And look at these large breaking waves, 25 to 35 feet. Here we go for the Bay Area, and you can clearly see the storm warnings and the high wind warnings in effect, and we got flood watches all over the place. What a storm. Now, looking at the high resolution rapid refresh, this is a 12Z run, goes out 48 hours, and you can kind of see doing a pretty good job with the precipitation that's been rolling across the area. And as we go through this late morning into the early afternoon, you could get convective here as well. And some of this rain is going to get really heavy, but it's going to be more hit and miss. And then you can kind of see that bent back occlusion kind of passing close to the Bay Area. So it's going to be very windy during this time frame also. And that's when the bigger winds are going to be rolling up the valley. And look at the atmospheric river. Let's back it up here. In fact, you can really see the atmospheric river get going later this morning across Santa Barbara, Ventura County. Just some very torrential rainfall, especially across some of the higher terrain. And as some of these convective elements, and we got some CAPE and some instability in the atmosphere here, we could really be bringing some huge rainfall amounts in a short period of time to the higher terrain. And that's when the real mud flows and the debris flows get going. And then look, as we go into Monday morning, look at this convective nature here as this storm just kind of sits and spins and the atmospheric river bounces back towards Santa Barbara here. And again, with the instability, we could be having some very torrential rainfall and it just training over Oxnard and Los Angeles Metro at times all the way on in through Tuesday morning as it finally starts to push off here. But we still have some rainfall to go after that. And there could be even a tornado or a waterspout threat as we go through today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, all the way down through Southern California. And some of the desert areas are not going to be spared. There's some slight risk in the excessive rainfall all the way out towards Death Valley, and it includes portions of some of southern Nevada and Arizona as well. So heads up. Now I want to show you the high resolution total precipitation for Southern California. Let's scroll through this because you can see as we go through the day today, just these ridiculous amounts coming up here for some of the higher terrain, especially coming across the Los Angeles Metro. And as we go into tomorrow morning, again, it kind of bounces back here, just running perfectly into the higher terrain of the transverse ranges. And look at some of these amounts showing up on the high resolution model. As we go through Tuesday morning, you can see it's kind of stalled here across Los Angeles County, and just bringing some ridiculous amounts. And that's why we've upgraded this area to a high risk. Look at it. This is for today. Santa Barbara, Oxnard, the Los Angeles Metro. You are under the gun today. High risk is in effect. So nice stuff here from the Weather Prediction Center. They've really been paying attention and doing a good job. And this is day 2. It still includes the Los Angeles Metro and the transverse ranges behind and north of Los Angeles here as well. High risk for tomorrow as well. And you can see the excessive rainfall risk categories: high, widespread flash floods expected, severe, widespread flash flooding. Areas that don't normally experience flash flooding could. Lives and property in great danger. And we've got these mesoscale discussions out as well, just talking about just the intense rainfall ongoing, and then we're going to get some convective activity training over these areas that have just absolutely been doused over the last week or two, and the strong atmospheric river continues to advance inland. Here's with the National Blended Models as well. Let's see what it says. You can see the precipitation. The bulk of the widespread moderate and heavy rain will be coming to an end for some of the central coast, but you're still going to be getting some very heavy rain at times, and you can see this atmospheric river. Let's see what it does. It's just kind of hung up right on Los Angeles. That is not good news, folks, and it's just hanging out there as we scroll 1 hour at a time. Very interesting stuff here. Dynamic situation unfolding here across Southern California, and it's kind of looking like Los Angeles will get the brunt of that, and some of the transverse ranges right behind the Los Angeles area as we go on in through Monday afternoon. And check it out. I mean, you're bringing some of this moderate precipitation just consistently across some of the desert areas as well, all the way in towards Nevada. Now, the North American model, we'll look at this again. We haven't looked at this one yet, but we'll look at the composite reflectivity again. You can see models are in agreement. That's just kind of hanging up here and bouncing around across anywhere from Santa Barbara to Ventura and Los Angeles counties and just kind of sitting there for a while. Then eventually starts to include San Diego, but looks like San Diego might escape the worst of it. But I also want to show you something here. As we go on into Tuesday morning, look at some of the convective nature. And if these cells train over any given area with already super saturated soils, I mean, you can just imagine the problems we'll be having in some of the debris flows that could occur. And you can still see the spin in the atmosphere as we go on into Tuesday. There's going to be a tornado threat probably here on the Central Coast all the way down through Southern California. Nice wind shear, good instability, very warm water over the coastal areas here. So much to talk about. Now, if we go over the North American model, I want to highlight something here because this is the most recent one on the left versus yesterday afternoon's. And we put this into motion. Obviously, the NAM is probably overdoing some of these totals, but I want to show you, look at yesterday. It's pretty equal here. Right around 14 inches of rain it's showing for some of the transverse ranges. But if we extend on into Tuesday morning here, let's stop at Tuesday about 4 a.m. and look at, it's actually uptrended some of the amounts near the Los Angeles Metro. You can see 15.85 versus 20. I'm not expecting 20 inches of rain, but still, that's kind of a concerning uptick in some of the high resolution models there. So yeah, that's probably why they introduced some of that high risk for today and tomorrow for the Los Angeles Metro. And also the snow. I mean, my goodness, we got so many things going on here. Then we have major and extreme impacts across much of the Sierra Nevada. The snow level will be rising through this event, but some of the higher terrain is probably going to get 5, 6, even 7 feet of snowfall for some areas. Now, this is looking at thunderstorm potential as well. This goes for today and tomorrow and potentially again Tuesday, especially areas south, but you get lightning, small hail, and of course gusty winds, and some very heavy rainfall could happen over areas that are going to be quite saturated. And check it out, they even talk about funnel clouds or weak tornadoes. And this is the rainfall today through 10 p.m. Tuesday, again, highlighting the transverse ranges. Just kind of drill that in here, and lesser amounts down towards San Diego versus what the Los Angeles Metro is going to get. So look at this total snowfall across some of the higher terrain of Southern California as well. Some areas getting up over 4 or 5 feet of snow. But again, you know, the highest terrain will be impacted there. But still, I have viewers out here that are in these areas off in the backcountry there. So heads up for that. Big time snow is incoming. Looking at San Francisco, you can see some of the wind gusts here down as we go on through this afternoon, talking about gusting back up towards 60 miles per hour as we go through this afternoon and evening for San Francisco on the most recent North American model. This is Point Reyes, 60 mile per hour gust. Half Moon Bay, look at this, gusting up over 65 miles per hour. Monterey, this is ongoing as we speak right now, so you're probably pretty windy and dealing with some tree damage out there. Sacramento, look at this, gusting up towards 60 miles per hour in the most recent run. Crescent City, you'll notice the lighter amounts, and this kind of picks up as we go through Monday morning, but just gusts into the mid and upper 40s here. So you're not expecting quite the dynamic windstorm as you go further north into Northern California. But look at Point Arena, ongoing as we speak, and then continuing some of these gusts all the way on in through tonight. Mount Shasta, higher terrain. Look at that, Sunday, 10 p.m., 65 miles per hour, heads up. Big Bear, some big wind gusts down in California across the higher terrain as well. Southern California, South Lake Tahoe, gusting up towards 60 miles per hour. Tehachapi, 51. You know, some bigger gusts across some of the terrain areas down there as well. I don't want to just show you that and say, hey, that's what the Grapevine is going to be getting as well, because some of the higher terrain will be getting gusts in excess of that. Here's Truckee, Tahoe, mid-50s. Here's up towards Eureka, and again, a little bit lesser, and some strong winds ongoing right now. Now, looking at day one thunderstorm outlook, you can see they do have that marginal risk for some severe storms there, and there's that tornado threat for today, and this is going to move down across Southern California over the next few days as well. And here's the day two, includes Southern California, and day three on through the deserts and some of Arizona also. Now, looking at the European, so this is our storm system, and this is about, as I'm speaking right now, what is it, about 9:30, so this is about 10 o'clock. And the storm still hasn't quite peaked yet. It shows it peaking right about what, 1? No, that's about 4. About 4 p.m. today. That storm's going to be at peak strength. And look at this intense pressure gradient. You're talking about 82 there versus 1,012. I mean, what is that? 30 millibars from Los Angeles to just off the point of Point Reyes there. Just an incredible pressure gradient. And that's why that hurricane force wind warning is out, and that's why we're getting so much damage out there right now as well. Just an incredibly potent mid-latitude cyclone. Very extremely rare for this latitude. Look at the North American model as well as we scroll through the day today. So it looks like it bottoms out at 980, and that's probably right about now almost. But you can see it holds on to 981 as we go through this afternoon and evening. Then it slowly starts to fill as we go. And you can, again, just a ridiculous pressure gradient from all the way down across Southern California up towards Point Reyes and some of the coastal areas as you go towards Northern California. And now looking aloft. So this is 2,500 feet, and this is actually sustained winds in knots to the bottom right here, and some of these are just over 100 miles per hour sustained. I mean, it's just a wild windstorm here, and this is something that usually hits southeast Alaska or British Columbia or maybe Washington in its more extreme storms, but this is all the way down here across California. And yeah, very intense stuff. And you can clearly see how that wind propagates up the valley areas we go through tomorrow morning. Those gusty winds will be dying off by the time we get on into Monday for the most part for many areas. And you can kind of still see that atmospheric river hounding Southern California here in the low, kind of filling and dropping down. Now, looking at the sea surface temperatures as well, this just kind of enhances things. This is bringing in so much cold air aloft that you're just going to have the enhancement of some of that convective available potential energy as we go on through the next few days. And that's what's going to help out some of that tornado threat, water spout threat, and just really bringing some intense rainfall with some of those convective bands over the area for the next few days. And I wanted to show you this as well. This is 925 millibars. So you can see the mid-latitude cyclone and all this warm air, kind of a classic signature of a mid-latitude cyclone, just bringing up some of this warm air in front of it. And you can kind of see how it gathers that. It's got almost like a warm core for a little bit before that mixes out. But you can see the warm air associated with the atmospheric river pumping into Southern California. And it just continues on in through Tuesday morning here. And you can kind of see that low spinning here. The problem is this low weakens and elongates, and it kind of continues a cyclonic flow and continues to bring precipitation all the way through Tuesday across some of Southern California. Some of the desert areas as well are going to be targeted through, Las Vegas and out across some of Eastern California, Southeastern and Western Arizona as well. Now, looking in the upper levels of the atmosphere, just an interesting look at things here. You can see the windstorm there just curling up, this reverse breaking wave, just intense pressure gradient with very cold air aloft. And then you'll see the bulk of this polar lobe just moving across the state of California as you go through the day Tuesday. Some very cold air aloft, as you can see. And this is looking at surface-based CAPE. I want to show you the instability associated. You can see with this atmospheric river, you're adding a little bit of CAPE there as well. So that helps to enhance, especially locally, some of these rainfall amounts into the higher terrain. As we go through the day today, let me back that up here. You can see some of this convective action going on the coastline there as we go through the day today. And then we flood some more instability in as we go on through the day Monday. It destabilizes across some of the valley areas here. I would not be surprised to see some tornado, funnel cloud, or water spout reports. And then we swing this instability, starts to come on in towards Southern California as we go through the day Tuesday. Telling you, watch out, especially if you're a mariner, just because the winds have died down, watch out for that water spout and weak tornado potential across the coastal areas. Keep your Doppler radars handy. And I believe this is where that house damage was there near Santa Barbara as well. So yeah, very strong winds across the region. I have to work today, but I'll probably be updating things on Twitter as we go. I'm not sure if I'll do another video tonight. If I do, it won't be until later tonight, but I'll have my normal briefing out tomorrow. Storm is here. Here we go. It's underway. It's everything that's been advertised across the area. And this is going to be a really dire situation across some parts of Southern California. I really want to highlight that because this atmospheric river stalling over any given area is really going to be a problem, especially if we start to bring some convective elements after that. Because as an old National Weather Service pro just mentioned to me, the greatest debris flows happen with very intense 5 to 15 minute rainfall totals. And when we bring those convective elements already on top of super saturated soil, I don't even know if that's a real term or not, but very saturated soil. Let's just put it at that. Then you can start to get some extremely big mud flows going on here across Southern California. So yeah, very dynamic situation unfolding. Hopefully you guys have everything in order. We'll do this again either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I will talk to you guys then.